Welcome back. This is video 14 in the series on creating an Asteroids game. In this one we're going to create a nuke weapon that you can deploy to, if you get in a tough situation, you can deploy it to get you out of it. Give me a second here. There we go. Okay, here we go. So if you're about to get hit and you can't get away from it, we're going to have this weapon here that blows up and destroys almost everything in its path if things get too far away. You can see we're going to start off with 3, and we deploy it by just hitting the N key. Okay, and you can see it really racks up some points if you got a lot of bad guys in the neighborhood. But you see, we're going to set it up so it's not an unlimited weapon there, so it just be used in case of emergencies. All right, to start off with, we're going to load up 2 new sprites here. One is going to be used for the actual sprite, for the actual nuclear blast itself, and the other one's going to be for just as an icon in the lower corner to indicate how many that you have left. All right, so we're going to go open this side up here and go to sprites here. We're going to go to create, click create, and we will go over here to, actually, we can do it in a different order here. You don't have to do things in a particular order here. But we're going to go to import, and we'll go ahead and open up the nuke blast first. And click open. And we will come over here and we will name it Nuke Blast. Okay, and then again, just like most of the sprites in this game, we want to center it. So make sure we're going to center it. So top left, change that to middle center. Now it's really hard to see because if you notice, the size of this sprite is 1,280 pixels by 1,280 pixels. Now this is a round sprite, so we have to fix our collision mask, and we don't have to do this precise one here, but we could just do an ellipse, and it's set to automatic. So now it's the shape of, it's a round shape the size of the blast itself. Okay. All right. So let's load up another one here. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Create another sprite. This one is just going to be for our indicator that shows how many we have. So I'm going to go import. And here it is right there, Nuke Power Up. So click that guy, click open, and again we're going to center it. And let me give it a good name here. I'm going to call it Nuke PU for Power Up. Now we're calling it Power Up because we're going to have a couple other Power Ups here later on, so we want to be able to distinguish them as such. Okay, so we've got it set here. Collision mask. The collision mask on this one's not very important. It's when we use it for our for the power-up object. It's going to be fine as a square, so we're just going to leave it as a square. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we're not going to use it as a power-up indicator at this time anyway, so we'll fix that. Okay, so now we need to make an object for our nuke blast. Okay, so we go to objects and create, zoom in, object, nuke, blast, give it that sprite. Okay, now remember, this sprite is enormous. So when it is first created, it is, if we notice when we play in our sample game here, that when it is activated, it is tiny. It is, in fact, 0 by 0 pixels, and it just grows and grows and grows. So when it is first created, we have to make it that infinitely tiny object. So the way you do that is as follows. In the create event, so we're going to add event, create, and move this over again. Move this, widen this out here. Okay, so we're going to go set size. Yeah, we can do that. Give it set size. set start size. Let's try to be as accurate as possible here. Okay, so in this, what we're going to do is remember on the asteroids we used a variable called scale to control the width and the height of the asteroid. We're going to do the same thing here, but we can skip the section where we create a variable called scale, because we're going to start off at 0. It's not some random number. So we can just set our sprite's x scale to 0. And we're going to set the y scale as well. Image underscore y scale equals 0. Okay. And again, what this does is just makes it infinitely small when it is first created. Okay. Next thing we want to do, and actually we'll handle that later when we kind of fine tune what our thing is looking like. So we're going to create a step event. So add event step. Okay. So now we're just going to call this explode or expands. Let's call it expands. So this code here is going to make our sprite expand. And since image x scale is what is used to control the width, that's what we're going to use. Image x scale, and we're just going to go plus equals, and we want a fairly small number so that it takes a while to expand. So I'm going to use 0.01. And that may end up being too fast, and we can load that number later on. And so image y scale is going to be the same thing. Y scale plus equals 0.01. Okay, so this makes sure that it expands evenly. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do to test this thing to see if I like it is I'm just going to put this Nuke object right in the room, all by itself. Nothing's going to deploy it. So I just go there and I can see what it looks like. So I'm just going to open the room up and then drag one of these into the screen. Now see how large it is compared to the screen? I'm going to put it off to the side of the ship just so you can see it. And then we just play the game and see if we like how it looks. Okay, now notice it just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding. I don't know if you can see it very well on your screen, but I can see these rings of rings and rings just expanding and expanding. It's not dying. Okay, so we've got to get it to die, and we're going to do it kind of the same way we did with the dust and the blast and everything. We're just going to use its alpha to cause that to happen. So back on the Nuke blast object, we're going to go to the create event, and we're going to set its alpha. Let me zoom in. Image underscore alpha equals 1. Okay, that's when it starts off, we want it to equal to 1. Okay, and then just like in the asteroids and the other one, we're going to make it as it expands, it's going to get fainter. So we're just going to go image underscore alpha minus equals, let's go 0.02. Okay. And then we want to tell it if, once it's completely faded away, just like we did with the blast and the other one, if image alpha is less than 0, then instance destroy. set up pretty here. Oh, forgot something right there. Less than 0. Oh, my numlock's not on 0. There we go. If image alpha is less than 0, then it's going to destroy itself. So let's play it again. Now it should fade away. But see, it kind of fades too quick. Okay. Now there's a couple ways to handle that. We can slow it down. We can slow down the fading. But there is, even if we do that, it's not going to have kind of the effect I want. So I'm going to slow down the fading here a little bit, and it still doesn't look quite right. That's because it's kind of still, even as it's expanding, it's fading too quick. So one of the ways that I dealt with this, or that you can deal with this, is in the create event, I'm going to, instead of setting image alpha to 1, I'm going to set it to 2. Now, if hopefully you remember that image alpha, anything above 1 is fully visible. So now if we set it to 2, it is not twice as visible. It's just the value is set to 2, which means that as the image alpha is coming down, for half of its life, it's going to be fully visible. So if we play it, it's going to look a little bit better. It's going to stay intact longer. See? Now it's still kind of fading kind of quick and everything, so we can, again, you can adjust these numbers here to make it work a little bit better. So you get it. You just play with these numbers here until you get something that you like. Again, if it's expanding too far, you can increase these. I'm sorry, decrease these. I'm sorry. Let's half that. 0.05, 0.05 here. So again, just play with those numbers until you get what you're looking for. I'm going to put one here. I'm going to show you what happens if you get them to expand at different rates here. So I've got this one at 0.01 and this one at 0.005. You see, you can get yourself weird shapes here. See, it's expanding faster than it's expanding horizontally faster than it's expanding vertically. Okay, now we want to get this thing to destroy asteroids. So that's going to be pretty simple. So just all we're going to do is just close this guy down, open up the asteroid object. Okay, now we already got something here that makes it destroy, gets itself destroyed here. This when it collides with a bullet here. All we have to do is just right-click on this and go duplicate event. And now this time go into collision with the Nuke blast. Okay. And all the same things apply. The same exact code is what's going to happen. Okay, so now we can, let's go to the controller here and we'll crank up the number of asteroids. So open up the controller. In the create event right here, this asteroid quantity right here, you can set this to 10 or something. Okay. So change that to 10. Again, just temporarily. Press play, and you see you got 10 asteroids. Ooh, what's going on here? As soon as it hit an asteroid, it destroyed itself. So we need a slight change here. So let's go back at that code. On the asteroid collision with the Nuke blast here. Let me shrink this down here. And let's look at the code and find out why does that happen. So we go like here. Okay, so with other instance destroy. That means the thing that's other is the Nuke blast here. We don't want the Nuke blast to be destroyed here. We just want the asteroid to be destroyed. So we can take out all of this right here, all the way from here to here. So that all it does now is it just when this collision happens, the only thing that gets destroyed is the asteroid that gets hit right here. Since we were programming the asteroid, we do not need the with other. So let's play it again, and you see now we should have our effect. Okay, now there's another error that popped up here. You saw that little sparkle thing happen. We're going to fix that. Actually, you know what? I need to go back and fix my... remember I did this code here. Let's change these both. Okay, now another problem has arisen here. Look what happens with the blast once it's gone through. If it's destroyed all the asteroids, it won't do it in this case here. Yep. So if we reset and get all the asteroids within a certain distance, you see how the bunch of them blew up? See, a new set pops in and they all start blowing up, all the new ones blow up. So what's happening there is before the blast is completely gone, a bunch of new asteroids appear, and those are instantly destroyed because as soon as they're created, they're touching the blast, and so they get blown up. So we have to address that now too as well. And the way we're going to do that is in the controller object. Remember, the controller object, we want the controller to wait until the blast is gone before it makes a new set of asteroids. So in our, let me expand all this stuff. So in this code, in the step event right here is where the new set of asteroids is created right here. Remember, we said if there is not an asteroid and there is a ship, then go ahead and create all your asteroids. Well, we have to add something to this. We have to add and not instance exists object nuke blast. Okay, so now the new asteroids won't get created until there are no asteroids, but the ship is still there, and you have the nuke blast. The nuke blast is not there, I mean. Okay, so now, again, this is kind of hard to get it to replicate here, but we'll see what we can do here. Okay, see, that time we didn't have that problem. Now see, all the nukes are gone, and see, the new ones don't appear until the blast is completely gone. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to make it so that it is our ship that deploys the nuke, and it just doesn't randomly happen. So let's go back to the room, and we're going to click on the nuke object. You can click anywhere on it and just hit the delete key to get rid of it. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the room. Okay, I'm going to close all of these guys here. If I right click and go close all but these, and then just click the one that's on there, this kind of clears our field here. So we want our ship to be the thing that deploys the nuke blast. So we're going to open up ship, and we got to figure out how we're going to deploy it. You can select a key, do something like that. What I'm going to choose to do is use the N key, N for nuke. Okay, so we're going to go to add event. Again, I'll zoom in on this in a moment. Add event, key press, and again I want to use key press so I'm not deploying a bunch of nukes. And then letters, and then N for nuke. Fire nuke. Okay. Okay, so again, we're gonna do this in a couple steps here, just so you can see what is what we need to do and different concerns we have. So I'm going to go instance. Let me zoom this in. Instance create layer, and we want to create it at our location, at the ship's locations. We're using XY, and we're going to go to the instances layer. That's where it's going to go. And the name of the object is object nuke blast. Okay. So then we're going to launch, we're going to start the game, and you see now we have the issue of, see, I can launch like this, but I can also do this, which can look neat, but you'll accidentally go through all your nukes very quickly. So we're going to set it up so that if a nuke exists, we or if a nuke does not exist, then we can't fire it. Okay. So we just add a code. If not instance exists, object nuke blast, and then I'm going to use my open squiggly. It's indented like we have been. Forgot to put a semicolon at the end here. Again, in Game Maker, semicolons at the end of these lines is not necessary, but it's a good habit to get used to because most other languages do require it. All right, so now if we play the game, okay. Let's see, I can't fire it until the last one is until it's gone. Okay. Okay. All right, so now we're going to set it up so that you only have a limited number of nukes here. That way it just doesn't make the game so unfair that, or too easy actually is the real problem, that it stops becoming fun. It may be neat to look at, but it's no longer fun. So in the create event, we're going to create another variable here. Notice here I've turned off the shields here. That's just so I can play with things. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and turn them back on. And all I did was just note that out so the shield wouldn't activate. Alright, so we are going to create a new variable, nuke, and this this is where we set how many nukes we have. So I'm going to put 3. Nuke equals 3. Okay. And then in the key press in event right here, or you can go over here if it's not showing up there, in the key press in event, we're going to go to, we're going to make it if there are no nuke blasts and nuke is greater than 0, means that you do have some nukes left. Then you want to go ahead and launch it. But we have to reduce the number of nukes by 1 every time we launch it. So in this area here, after this, you're going to go nuke minus equals 1. And now what this will do is keep us, I'm starting and I'm running the game here. Now it limits us to 3 nukes. So I launch 1. You see I can't launch anymore until that other one's gone. Launch 2. Again, destroys all the rest. And launch 3. And when this one goes, I have no more. Okay. But it'd be nice to see something on the screen that we could use to display here what's there. Okay, so I'm going to do that. We're going to get it to display on the screen. And what I mean by that is if you look on the sample game here, when the game first starts, you see these 3 icons in the lower corner. This is what indicates how many nukes I've got. So if I launch one, you see it drops by 1. Launch another, that one disappears, and then launch my last one. You see they're all gone now. This is what we're gonna accomplish right now. All right, so let me go ahead and close this here. We're going to use our controller. Since our controller is what draws most of our stuff here, I'm going to use the controller object. Open that up, and we're going to go to the draw event. Okay, let me collapse this a little bit down a little bit so we can see what's going to go where. And let me move this up and zoom in. Expand that out. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna go down a couple lines and then start programming here. We'll put draw nuke quantity. Okay, so this will have us do that. Okay, so what we have to do is we got to get it to repeat, draw that little icon 3 times in a repeating pattern here. So we need to, that's our first thing. Actually we got to set a little variable that's going to be used to control, that's going to keep track of how far over we got to draw these. So I'm just going to be a simple, just going to use A equals 0. And this is going to be used for, this will set our starting point for where the icons are going to be drawn. So we go to A. Now we're going to repeat. We're going to repeat as many times as we have nukes. So we're going to go object ship dot nuke. This is the variable that tells us how many nukes we have. So this will repeat that many times. Okay, so I go to the next line here. And we're going to put indent, and next line we're going to go draw sprite, and then we're going to name the sprite. And again, down here at the bottom you can see what it's asking for. It's asking for the name of the sprite. We got to the sprite we're going to draw is that nuke power up sprite. So that's the name we got to put there. SPR nuke PU. Okay, then it's asking for the sub image. Again, we don't know, we don't care. So if you don't know, don't care, you put -1. In most places, in most cases, if you don't know or don't care, you put a -1. That just kind of tells the computer that you don't know. So now I got to put in an X variable and a Y variable. And this, how far over do you want the first one to be? I'm just going to put 32, and it may adjust that later. 32, and then I just add whatever A is. So right now the first one's going to be drawn at A at 32 plus 0. So it's going to be drawn 30, its X value is 32 in from the left. And then my right, I want this to be up from the bottom. So my my Y value is going to be based on room height, which takes you to the bottom of the screen. Room height, and then minus however high I want it to come up off the bottom there. I'm just going to go 32 for right now. Okay, and then I need to expand this a little bit here. Okay. So then the next thing I need to do is for the next cycle around, I got to add something to 82. Now this sprite is, I think, 16 pixels wide, I think. I'm not sure, but you can adjust this number if you don't like the spacing. This controls the spacing. So A plus equals 32. Now this will add 32 to the value of A that we set up. So squiggly right there. So you see right here, the first time around, it goes through draw sprite, and it draws that sprite at a particular location, 32 plus A, which is 0, so this is 32, and then room height minus 32. The next time around, A gets increased by 32, so now the next time around, A is now 32. So this becomes 32 plus 32 becomes 64. And then the next time around, you add another 32 to that, it becomes 64. So 32 plus 64, what is that? I think that's 72. Some larger number. And we'll just have to, my math skills are failing me at the time right now. So you can see what's going on here. So now if I play the game, you'll see when the game starts, you'll see a series of little small icons in the lower corner. See, right there. And the spacing looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and keep that. Now here comes an error here. Here comes a problem if I get myself killed. See, we got an error. Now this is in the controller. Draw event to the controller, and it's saying at line 27 it doesn't know what the ship is. This is the same problem that was happening with the shield, or not with the shield, but when the ship was running into the asteroid, when it was and the thrust was visible. The thrust was looking for the ship, and the ship wasn't there. So we have to, the same solution is going to apply here. So for this whole section here, we have to add this code. So I'm going to drop down a line here and add this. We only want this to happen if the ship exists. So if instance exists object ship and open bracket, and again I'm going to do my spacing here like I have been. And again, in Game Maker this is not critical, but it sure makes life easier when you're trying to troubleshoot stuff. There we go. Okay, so now we just run it, test it, make sure it's good to go, and I think that is it for this section here. Okay. So if I run into an asteroid, there we go. See, they disappear. They stop getting drawn. Game restarts. And again, if I test my nukes, if I launch one, it goes down by one. And just test it to make sure that you can't keep launching the nukes. If you can, review this video and see where the problem is. Okay, we'll see you in the next video.